It's Craggy's Connacht Rugby Podcast. It's the first podcast from the Clan Stand this season. There's a right buzz around. It's half an hour before kickoff, and this place is buzzing, William.
Yeah, it's absolutely great. There's really good feel around. The new pitch looks magnificent. Under the old lights, we're getting new lights in November.
The other thing we noticed, actually Dave noticed it, I didn't notice it, we've new goalposts that are much higher.
Yes, we've got high goal posts for our high kicking out halves. We were allowed back in the media room tonight. The first time we've been in there since January 2020. And that is a stunning thing to contemplate.
Exactly. I was down in Murty's beforehand and I spoke to a couple of the Connacht clan just to get their feelings on how they feel the season's gone so far and what they're expecting tonight. So let's hear what they had to say. Okay, we're here in Murty's before the game. I've got Pinky and Shane. Before we talk about the Munster game, what are your thoughts on the season so far? It hasn't been pretty, has it, Shane?
No. It's been a kind of a weird start. Obviously, the fixture gods weren't the kindest to us this year. But as the guys they said they parked that and they said gotta play what's in front of you. So personally, I think we're a little undercooked coming in, but I'm only a fan. So as I said, I was put in my place a few years ago over in South Africa because I was only a fan.
Yeah, but fans are important, Pinky. You can't just be dissed like that. It's very important what fans think.
This is true. I suppose the way I say it is, these are three games that we wouldn't really have expected much from anyway. So the way I see it, it's like 0 points dropped so far. That's my sugar-coated, optimistic viewpoint of the whole thing. But you'd be more concerned about the performances, right? Obviously, I mean, if you had 3 games you were going to underperform in, you may as well be these ones that you're going to lose anyway. Probably it's got to kind of change now, right? It's got to change in the next 3 or 4 hours, basically.
Shane, what are you hopeful for tonight? What are your thoughts on tonight, or do we have a chance?
Yeah, we definitely have a chance. Always have a chance, especially up there. The problem is though, looking at the weather, it's going to be nice, calm evenings. So I'm quietly confident, that kind of way. I think we could win this one by 6 or 7, I'd say, if we win it.
And yourself, Pinky?
Cautiously optimistic, but this could literally go any of several ways.
All right, great stuff, guys.
One big question on this is how long before one of the groundsmen puts a pitchfork into the actual AstroTurf by mistake?
We know who that's directed at, and we'll leave that one in for him to have a listen to.
Names will be named.
What a great sound that is. Sportsground coming to life as Connacht come back in. Okay, William, about 10 minutes to kick off. Seems a bit early for them to be going in, but you never know. They must have something they want to talk about because Munster are still on the field. What are your thoughts? Connacht going to win?
I hope so. I really don't know. They'll have to play so much better than they have in the first 3 games. Whether they can close the gap between what they're doing and what they want to do, that's the real question for them. Can they find the accuracy and the consistency in what they're trying? I think Jack Carty is the key man for them. If Carty can make better decisions than we saw, particularly against the Stormers, which was a game they left behind, and maybe take a little bit of a risk, because sometimes they were too conservative and sometimes they were too flahulic, you could say. There was no middle ground. If they get that, yeah, they have a chance. They really do have to win this evening.
Okay, William, we don't have a stadium clock, but we've got a water break, so we know it's 20 minutes. Connacht are winning 5-0, but probably should be winning 10-0.
Yeah, Jack's hit the post twice with a penalty and a conversion. Lovely try by Mac Hansen. Connacht look well up for this. I'm not sure we need a water break in this temperatures, but maybe when we have one here in January, they can bring them out hot tea.
I think they will need it in January, no doubt, because it's a pleasant evening, but it's certainly not anything that needs a water break. But I hope this doesn't get into Connacht's head now, because it's broken them. They've been playing really well up to now.
Yeah, they have, and it's interesting. Jake White last week after the game really hates them, and we know the issues in GAA with them, that it really doesn't help the team that's on top. You got to hold your concentration.
Half-time score: Connacht 5, Munster 8. Connacht should be winning.
I'm not sure. I think what we've seen from Connacht in that half, Alan, is they've been a bit better, but it's still very harem-scarum. It's not concentrated enough. They scored a fabulous try, but a lot of the other play to me is happening too quickly, and it breaks down in attack because they just don't have everybody in position. They should be at least ahead because Jack's missed 2 easy kicks.
Yeah.
But this is what Munster do. They suck you in. Connacht have had a couple of opportunities, but they haven't really put them under consistent pressure in their own 22. Munster have been sloppy. They've given away a lot of penalties at the breakdown area. But the longer the game went on, they've got into it. I can see this getting very difficult for Connacht.
We think it's 60 minutes, so we're going to go for it. Connacht have a penalty. Connacht are losing only by a point now at this stage. It's a hell of a game of rugby now.
Yeah, it's turned into a grim battle. This is a big kick. I mean, Connacht haven't got a ball between the posts in this game yet, so Conor Fitzgerald has taken over from Jack Carty. So let's see how we go.
No bother with offense.
Well, that tells you the story. It's going to be really, really hard to the end of this game.
Connacht win 20 points to 11. Hard fought, well deserved.
Absolutely. They had a big defensive stand about the 65th minute, and that seemed to just galvanise them into action. And they upped the pace, they upped their accuracy, and Munster just couldn't help giving away really, really poor penalties at times. And Connacht punished them. 2 fine tries, really hard fought, proper derby game. But that gets the Connacht season moving. They're 1-3, but Connacht have to kick on now. But there was something really better about the fact that that was an 80-minute performance. But you could really see them growing in that period. Conor Fitzgerald had a fabulous game at 15, and Paul Boyle made a hell of a difference off the bench.
Yeah, all the bouncers bounced. A whole lot of them come on and made a difference. And it was just, as you say, that defensive stand was massive. Because it looked like Munster were going to run away with the game because they'd scored a penalty in the second half and they'd pulled further ahead. And if they'd one more score, it could have been the end of it. So it was a huge, huge win for Connacht.
Yeah, it's massive win. They absolutely had to win tonight. They knew that. So now they're up and running in this competition. Next week is a big opportunity as well. Different opposition, maybe a better quality opposition. Crowd was great. Crowd of about 7,000 in, and I think tomorrow night or next Friday night this place will be jammed. So if you missed it tonight, folks, get out there, get your ticket, and get in.
Okay, Connacht are about to come in, so we'll let's go to the post-match audio.
Finlay, amazing victory, obviously, for Connacht against Munster tonight. You've been in the wars. We felt that when you were going off. I'm looking at you here now after a battling display, but it's worth it, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. Like, we've had an incredibly tough start to the season, but to be back home in front of our fans, new pitch, the buzz we had all week, despite our first 3 games, we knew we were going to have a performance, and look, there's parts of the game that didn't go great and there's things to work on, but to get the win, to get us up and running, it's really good, and proper proud of the lads and the change them there, the coaches as well. Just delighted to get the win.
Foundation probably was the set piece line. It was brilliant. Scrum was brilliant.
Yeah, no, we came to the game to try and have a go at that area. We painted some good pictures over the last few weeks in the set piece, so fair play to Devolt and Cully for putting the faith in us and letting us go out and have a crack at it, and the work behind the scenes we did to get a good performance. It was unreal. So it was nice to get a good set piece performance.
Munster had a good start to the second half, but a huge defensive stand. I don't know if you remember that moment, but it seemed to turn the tide for Connacht.
I have no idea about the defensive thing, but I'm sure it was really good. A lot of that game,
very good.
A lot of the game's just a blur for me because, as you can tell, I was in the wars. But like I said, I'm proper proud of our mob. We fronted up, gave our fans something to cheer for, and now all eyes on Leinster next week, and we're buzzing. It's a happy camp down there now.
What changed in the last couple of weeks? Obviously, you all felt that you've been doing a lot of good stuff in pre-season, but it wasn't coming through on the field. How much has changed in the last few days?
I wouldn't say much has changed. We always believed in what we were doing. Obviously, the first 3 games weren't good enough by our standards, but we knew the work we'd done in the pre-season and during the week and behind the scenes that not everyone would see, and we all just kept the faith, and we knew it would click. We were one pass away from making things happen, and it wasn't perfect out there by any means, but the heart, the fight, the desire, like that's what we're all about, and it was out there in spades and plenty of stuff to work on, but good to get a win, obviously, at home, and then we're home again next week, so we'll be buzzing again.
You like the new pitch?
Love it, man. Yeah, I can run around a bit more, but the lungs as well. So I run a bit more, then my lungs I start blowing a bit more, but it's good to throw the ball around. Definitely suits the way we play, and it's good to see some of the fast lads like Mac running around. He's a really fine specimen of a man, and seeing him run around elegantly was a pleasure to see. And I don't think I ran around elegantly, but I might work on that.
Andy Friend, Munster victory at home, not a bad way to turn a season around.
Yeah, happy with that, Rob. We said coming into the game we needed to win, and that's what we're now talking about, the fact we got to win. So it wasn't perfect, we know that, but it was a win. It was an Interpro win. It was our first home game on our new pitch in front of our family, friends, and supporters here. It's a great way to start the weekend.
Are there any key factors that you think came to the fore there in the closing stages?
I just thought our physicality. I thought our forward pack laid a really good platform for us, and I thought for the majority of the game we dominated the physicality. And yeah, that was what we said coming into the game. It was the team that was going to be the most physical, the most disciplined, and have the least amount of unforced errors. And I think on 2 of those fronts it was us. I don't know about the unforced errors yet. I haven't seen the stats, but I thought, we were the team that delivered those front 2.
There probably was a lot of unforced errors on both sides, so that's your point about it wasn't perfect.
It wasn't, and it was you could see it was both teams are nervous because both teams haven't really clicked at the front end of the season for various reasons. But I thought the forward pack, as I said, just laid a platform for us, which got us on the front foot. And going in at 8-5 down at half time was frustrating because you sort of scratch your head thinking, how are we behind at this stage? And they get an early penalty, so it's 8 or 11-5, and Jesus, here we go again. And then we get the try, but even right to the death there, we're camped down on their line. We give away a penalty, go to the line out, give away another penalty, and I'm thinking, I've seen this happen before, but thankfully it didn't happen, and then we managed to get another try ourselves. So it's a great way to finish the game, and nice way to get the season started.
Yeah, it might seem a small kind of point to be bringing out, but taking the bonus point off them, this is a battle. It could be important.
Yeah, I was actually frustrated we didn't go for a bonus point ourselves at the tail end. I thought there's nothing to lose here. We know we can't lose the game. It's 2011. Let's show some intent. Let's have a pop at that. But listen, at the same time, I respect what the players do out there, and I'm the bloke sitting up in the room, which it wasn't a comfy room. It was probably in the last 30 seconds when I then get brave and say, let's take another pop at another try. But totally respect what the boys did there, and pleased we got the win. We
just got to speak to Finlay Bealham, who I thought had a superb game, but also when he went off the field, he had left every last ounce of his body on that pitch. So, just maybe speak about that for a second and his performance.
I thought he's sensational. I thought. He's got huge aspirations, that fella, and it's performances like that which will get the recognition that he deserves. To me, he's one of the top tight heads in the country. We know that because he's playing for Ireland at the moment. But you need to put big performances like that up against interpros. So he's done that there tonight. Not just his scrummaging, but it was his work rate around the field, his carries, his tackles, his breakdown works, turnovers, jackals. He had the whole box and dice there. So really pleased for him and really proud of him because he works very hard to produce those performances.
I'm curious, there's a decent record under your good self at home and Interpro, certainly, Munsters and Ulsters. How do you build on it though? Because in the past, Connacht have got these moments, got these wins, but now you got Leinster next week, then you got the Scarlets, everyone's going to say you have to win that and so on and so forth. How does this become something that's a bit more consistent? Yeah,
and that's been our Achilles heel the last couple of seasons. It's just been our consistency. So listen, we've got a huge battle next week, which is Leinster, so we'll see how we pull up on Monday. And we've done our preview on Leinster anyway as a coaching group. We've got a very clever coaching group at the moment. We've got some things that we want to see their game tomorrow night. But again, the basis of that victory will be based on physicality, discipline, and minimal turnovers. So if we can keep repeating that dose, we'll win more games than we'll lose.
Leinster winning a physicality battle against them is not going to be easy. It's probably going to be tougher, arguably.
Yeah, listen, they like to maintain or retain the ball. So we need to whack them early and we need to hit them early. So we'll see. We had a great game against them last year here at Champions Cup. We didn't back it up the following week, but we believe we've got a game style that can hurt them if we get it right, and that's what we intend to do next Friday.
One more specific question for me. Finding a fullback seems to be tough in the last few weeks and months. What's Conor Fitzgerald done tonight to put that 15 jersey on his back for next week?
He did a lot of good things, I thought. Yeah, there were errors still in his game, but he gives us that left foot, that left boot, which is important. You can see when he gets his hands on the ball, he's got speed. And I know there was a ball that went to ground there. He knocked the ball on, but shy of that, I think he is a brave young man underneath the high ball. So I thought he had for a first start at 15. It's not the first game he's played there, but a first start there, he acquitted himself very well.
Okay, that were the voices of Finlay Bealham and Andy Friend. We're now at a much quieter clan stand, but I've got Rob Murphy.
Thank you for introducing me. I don't know, what do you say? I'm not used to this.
Fair enough. I got Lindley McKenzie.
Hello.
That'll do.
Oh,
And Dave Finn. I know, it's a bit of a strange start to a podcast in the middle of a podcast.
11-1. I cannot believe you got him at 11-1.
Mac Hansen.
Mac Hansen. I put it in the notes. Mac Hansen had not scored a try this year for Connacht. His last try was against Leinster. He'd previously scored against Ulster. He was due a try. So at 11-1 with 4 Munster players listed before him in the betting odds, I went, I have to have a bit of that.
Self-criticism. It's a bit of self-criticism coming up here. I saw this beautiful pass coming out to Mac Hansen, and for a split second I didn't identify who did it. And then Hansen scored, and in my brain it was like, who the hell passed that ball other than Jack Carty? He's literally the only person, possibly arguably the only out half in the country who can pass the ball like that. One of the few players in Ireland who can pick those passes out. So I just called it without looking at a replay and copped myself on, but it still took me a few seconds. I mean, come on, it's obviously Jack Carty.
Yeah. Well, William hadn't seen who it was because he had to know who it was. But I thought it was Jack Carty because all I was looking for was the first try scorer.
Replay, actually.
You watched the replay?
I was sure it was. But you just needed to check just in case. And it was a typical long Jack Carty pass that he's well known for. So, it worked.
It did. He didn't have a great game with the ball on the ground, but the presence he brings to the team is amazing. And
his kicking, in-game kicking, was superb. He had one bad one that went in goal, but every other one, he is loving this pitch because the ball dies as it bounces, and now you can just place it. Oh man, he is going to have a field day on this pitch.
Well, I think it was the second kick which died in the 5 metres. That's a ballsy kick because the previous one, because for me the jury's still out on the pitch in terms of bounce, in terms of will this suit us. You can start to see that it started to suit our style of play. The problem is it's going to suit a lot of other teams' style of play. Thankfully tonight the other team did not suit them at all, but there's bigger issues there. There was some range of kicks tonight, good, bad and downright shocking.
There was, but it comes down to the pack though.
Yeah,
the pack gave them the platform.
We've, by your editorial judgment and by what I've just heard, you've already played the interviews of Finlay Bealham and Andy Friend, obviously. But Bealham was brilliant in the interview, on the pitch. He's great crack. He's an amazing rugby player. discuss?
I think the difference is that when you talk about the 4G pitch, I think what it does is even the odds of a Connacht team, because we have to play to our strengths, which is the speed and the backs and the fluidity of the forwards, the pack, because they're not the heaviest. So it doesn't stop other teams being bigger than us and heavier than us, but I just think it plays more to our strengths, so it kind of evens it out a little bit.
It does. And the other thing that struck me tonight was the power that we brought off the bench. It's not something we've been able to do we certainly weren't able to do it last year. If we'd been able to bring off Peter Dooley and Josh Murphy off the bench on at least 2 or 3 games last year, we would have won a lot more games than we did.
And Paul Boyle playing like that, like Paul Boyle from 2 seasons ago. I mean, he didn't have the best seasons last year, I would suggest, but that's more like the Paul Boyle that we're hoping he's going to develop into.
Exactly. It was just on the flip side, Munster were not particularly good.
There's no sugarcoating it. They were terrible. I mean, you shouldn't win 3 penalties off an international Munster scrum tight loose head. You shouldn't steal easily. I mean, one of the ones Dowling stole was it was like, wow, he barely got off the ground. We don't maul them. I mean, the only reason we don't score maul tries, the only reason we didn't score 3 maul-out tries is Tadhg-Beirne. But even at the end, Tadhg-Beirne was getting pinged. So Munster have huge problems. I think they have a massive problem at 10. I think possibly their most informed 10 is with emerging Ireland. Very strange. Worst I've ever seen Munster play. I saw signs against the Dragons where I thought they looked slow, but they looked headless tonight.
Yeah, if you take Gavin Coombs out of that team, they had nothing going forward.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Tadhg-Beirne causes a lot of trouble from a defensive point of view, but you're not talking about that. So, I'll go back to just what you're saying there about international loosehead in Kilcoyne getting beaten, but Bealham does that to him every time he plays him. I'm done with this. And if there's anyone listening from outside this province who doesn't get this, Finlay Bealham is so far ahead of David Kilcoyne and so many other looseheads in Ireland, and he's one of the best tight heads, and we know that now, and that's why.
Can I give a hot take? One of the major reasons they put Porter back to loosehead is because they know that Bealham can back up Furlong. They don't have to worry about if Furlong is hurt. I think it's one of the reasons they decided that Porter should go back to loosehead.
I agree.
Can I just say something that's going to just maybe change the tone of this podcast? I'm not massively excited by this win. I'm just being honest here, right? I'm relieved that we've got a W, but I think that's where we stand. I think that's my belief in the potential of this group. If this management team can figure out things and get it right, because they've had to move the chairs around, and one guy's a defensive coach, and now a new person's defensive coach, and now you're called the head coach, and whatever. You're the same 5 people who were there last year, and you need to get this group performing, all right? And I've been listening a good bit. I took a step back, which is interesting, and just listening to some of the interviews and some of the talk the last few weeks, I really believe Andy Friend when he says it's been a brilliant pre-season. Honest to God, I believe all the players. I really do. But the time has come to get the finger out now. And I'm damned if I'm going to walk away this week and start going to people, oh, we beat Munster, this is brilliant. Because we'll get hammered by Leinster next week. We'll come up with a complete no-show against Scarlets. That's the trend. That's what we've seen in the past. So this group really, really needs to knuckle down. They beat a team who are in disarray. They're an absolute melee. They beat them with some interesting dynamics off the bench. You were saying this, Alan, which showcases something a little bit different, let's say, than last year's 10-8 victory. So I like that. I feel kind of relatively hopeful about that, but I'm not super positive.
I don't know. I think that defensive stand that they put up in the 63rd, 64th minute was phenomenal and changed. Last year, earlier this season, Munster would have scored against the Connacht team who didn't believe in themselves. Something happened in that. I don't know who it was, or was there anyone in particular, but they stood up to that Munster team and then walked down the field and scored a try.
Well, I think obviously their forward play has stepped up, quite a lot. Whether it's all a matter of coaching, whether it's just growing physicality, whether it's just changing the dynamics slightly of how they're doing things, it certainly has improved. You have to look at that against a Munster side. Technique, obviously it comes into play there. And, Connacht haven't really changed that much in terms of their size or their weight. But if you look at possibly some of those additions, what they have got in those additions are pretty clever players who have just boosted what they had before and added that extra dynamic to it. So I just think it's it's possibly a combination of a few things. It's still not the biggest pack, and it's still going to get pushed around by teams, but maybe the evening up of this pitch does have something to do with it, because it does seem to even it up a little bit. They're not stuck in the mud. They're not, where the bigger packs would have a field day against them. They're not. So, I'm not going to go over the top about them, but at the same time, I think there is an improvement, and there's an improvement both in their technique and also in the resources that they have at the moment.
Yeah, because you're looking at, Peter Dooley comes off the bench and does a great job. Josh Murphy comes off the bench and does a Paul Boyle, but also Colin Riley. It was great to see a bit of faith put in that young scrum half, because the game zipped up. Connacht moved up a gear when he came off the bench. Nothing against Kieran. Kieran was just getting tired, whereas Colin brought a new zip to it.
Well, they've had faith in Colin Riley for a while now. He's just been desperately unfortunate through injury and illness. He was going to, irrespective of Caelan Blade's injury, he was going to play these games. Blade, was going off to South Africa, so he kind of, this is his opportunity. He has to take, he has to take it, and he was very, very good. Boyler had a fantastic impact as well, but all of them had. I mean, we didn't even use our full bench. Tom Daly didn't come on. Grant Stewart didn't come on. But even Niall Murray came on. But the boys had busted themselves. Nobody was coming off because they were playing badly. Finlay was busted. Oisin Dowling was wrecked. Jared was wrecked.
Just want to go back to on Peter Dooley. I didn't think he was great in those first 3 games overall. Do you know?
I'm talking tonight. I'm purely talking.
Because I was worried about where he was, and look, Packy won't mind me saying this, because he tapped me on the shoulder during the commentary in Ulster, and he said we've just gone through 17 phases, and Peter Dooley has not touched a single ruck.
Wow.
So, it was just a point that just underlined the fact that he had a slow start. No doubt, he was outstanding tonight off the bench. Even Ainger was, everyone was. But I just want to kind of put that note. They gotta put this in every week. There's a lot of talent here.
I think those players who have come down have to also realise that this could possibly be their last shot. They've been playing in Leinster, and if they can't make it with Connacht, and they can't make an impression with Connacht, then they don't really have much of a future, do they?
No, and if you look at one other player we haven't really mentioned, was Niall Murray. Andy mentioned in his interview, he gave away the penalty. We gave away a penalty, and then he gave away a penalty on the line out. But what does he do the next line out?
He wins it.
He gets up and he steals it. And there's a sense of belief about the team now that hasn't been there before.
Well, it hasn't been there this season. There's always a sense of belief.
There was no belief in the first 3 games. You know what I mean?
Here's the weird thing was there was a sense of belief. And weirdly, we've been finishing games rather well, because we scored 4 of our 5 tries when games are dead. But that belief, that will feed into next week. That is possibly 60%, 65% of what you need to do to beat any Leinster team. But that performance tonight, with that level of penalties, that level of failing to take opportunities in 22, will not beat Leinster. But it's great to be starting 65% from that position.
But I would have to say that it's all very well having that fitness at the end and coming strong at the end. But it is pointless against a team like Leinster.
When we start playing against Leinster, last 20 minutes, how's that going to work out for us?
Clinical efficiency, the one you're going to get Leinster is actually by getting well ahead of them and getting them rattled. And then the extra belief will start kicking in with Connacht. And you're not going to beat them by having to climb 15-point deficit.
Well, I will say one thing. I think Leinster have suddenly, weirdly, and this last week were a one-man team. Jason Jenkins went off last week and they completely fell apart against Ulster. Now, I'm not saying that Leinster are a one-man team, quite far from it, but they were last week, so it's entirely possible.
You just said it.
Yeah, I'm going to say, okay, right, I said Leinster will not.
Leinster are a one-man team.
Leinster are a one-man team, and they will not win if Jason Jenkins doesn't play. I will be hung, drawn and quartered on that.
Oh my God. We actually have at least one Leinster supporter who signs up just, if not 2, and they are unsubscribing.
I'm dead in the
unsubscribing. No, look, next week, why were we competitive here last year in the first leg? Alan.
Because we fought hard and we went for it, and we believed at that point that we could do something, and then we fell apart in the second game. The question is, we're after putting in a big performance now. The one thing that will be there next week that wasn't really there at the start of the game, and this one right up until about the 65th minute, was there wasn't that much belief in the crowd.
No. There was chatter.
After 65 minutes...
There was murmurs of chatter down below me.
But after 65 minutes, and once we scored the try, the belief came back into the crowd, and hopefully that's part of it.
There were 2 turning points for the crowd. One was Fitz's kick because it changed Fitz as well.
Yeah.
And secondly, I don't know who made the turnover penalty.
Yeah.
I thought for 2 reasons that was huge. First of all, it was huge. It was in the 22 and we'd held them out. Everybody went mad. Hawkshaw was really wound the crowd up.
No one won that penalty, but all 15 won that penalty because the penalty itself, I think Munster went after feet at that point, so it mightn't have been a jackal. But the main point was, and I think that was your point, Alan, was phase upon phase upon phase upon phase into 22 when they would not budge. Really impressed with that. I will say this, Linley, maybe you can take this, but I'm just excited by Conor Fitzgerald as fullback, and I think it's taken too long for them to realise that we need to play him there because he's our best option.
Well, I totally agree with you, which is why I was trying to sort of quiz Andy tonight on that very fact. I've often thought about Conor Fitzgerald, that he has got such a great boot on him, and he's a great little runner, and his natural position is actually at fullback. And I personally think we have found ourselves another fullback contender in him, and it also dovetails. I mean, it's great to have him there because he was able to also take over the kicking duties because Jack wasn't on song particularly. I think he is definitely a solid choice.
Can I make another point and see what you think of this? You're saying that he helps Jack out. I argue as well he made John Porch better tonight, and he made Ralston and Hawkshaw better because suddenly everyone's able to focus on their own jobs.
There's that, and for me, this was one of the best decisions in the game. Was Jack turned around and handed him the ball when he said, "I'm not kicking well." That's huge. That's huge for me. That to me, that shows unbelievable leadership. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he's obviously not perfect yet. I mean, he's hardly played there at all. And I know, Andy Friend does say about some of the errors or mistakes that he made, and that's fair enough. But I just think it was quite delightful to see a talented player like him find a position that maybe is the right one for him.
The faith shown in him by Jack, as you say, for the kicking, he will be better next week. It'll be a much different test next week as well, though.
And I think you've also got to realise that he's possibly not now the number 2 out half because we've got David Hawkshaw there. So
and he was excellent tonight.
So, where do you put a talented player? Where do you make use of a talented player like Fitzgerald?
You said Hawkshaw played well. Goggin has had so many nights, especially in Thomond, where he's got the better of us. He didn't tonight, and I think that's because of Hawkshaw.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought he was excellent in both attack and defence, and he's a leader on the field as well, and he believes in himself. And this is the word I'm going to keep using. There's a belief there that hasn't been there, and some of it comes from playing at home.
But does that matter ultimately so that matters absolutely in terms of how they perform in defeat against the sides that are ultimately better than them and how they get the job done against teams they should. But that's what's worrying me about, and you kind of touched on this in the podcast over the last couple of weeks, is like when you meet the Leinsters of this world and maybe some of the English sides, they're just too big for us. Linley's getting at that as well, so maybe the pitch, I don't know what I'm saying here, but you know what I'm saying.
But maybe that's why those players are coming with such confidence, because they come from Leinster. They are born and bred Leinster people. Doesn't mean to say that they don't want to play well for anybody else, but they're coming down here with the mentality that everyone who plays with Leinster is great.
Can I point out, the only reason Leinster have 3 wins from 3 is because the Zebra out half couldn't kick in the first half of their game. So
one man team, is it?
The one man team. They are better. I mean, look, we don't have anyone like Jason Jenkins, so we will have to be physical. We will have it, but we have to believe. Belief comes from believing that without Jenkins they're not as good. I know it's a stupid small thing, but if you can, little things like that, little nuggets of belief, plus also belief in yourself, help you out. But you still have to put it into the pitch.
If you go back and look at the size of teams they've played over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and let Munster live on physicality and big forwards and big stuff. And John Klein was back today, and he's a big man.
The game, the bench is a big lad for him.
Yeah. And the Sale game. The thing that impressed me most about the Sale game was that our pack stood up to a big English pack who it was all about their physicality. There seems to be something there, and it's something that if you listen to Deval Selinkal from 2 weeks ago, the passion that he talked about, wanting our guys to be more angry and difficult and hard. And
I think Andy Friend referenced it as being dog-like.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's
nice boys from Connacht.
Exactly. That's exactly what he said, and I think that's starting to come through. And sometimes that takes a bit of time.
One point, right? Just from the press conference, Jerry Thornley asked a question, and it's just that I think it's just that, like, we could ask these questions, but we're watching it every week. But it was nice to hear from someone who's outside and just ask, like, how much pressure there was.
Huge win for the players, for the organisation, and for the fans.
Yeah.
You all three of you needed it.
Yeah. No, we did, Jerry. I thought I was impressed with the crowd that turned up, but we had to give them something to cheer about. And I thought that opening scrum where we got the penalty got them going. And then we got another scrum penalty, and it really got them going. And then the game wasn't perfect, so we gave them plenty of things to go, here we go again, this is Connacht. But we came over the top of them in the end. So for all three, yeah, listen, for the coaches as well. Players needed that, coaches needed it, the whole staff needed that. As an organisation, we needed that.
Yeah, so that's it. Like, it's just, Lindy, we've talked about this over the years, and that's what I want to finish on, which is like, there always needs. I never feel comfortable when we're accepting kind of being just a bit below what we can be. And I think the question was good, and I feel like, I'll say this from Andy Friend, I do feel like he does not accept what happened over the last 3 weeks, and that's a good attitude.
Well, he can't accept it. I mean, it's impossible for him to accept. You can't make excuses. You just can't at this stage. He's been here for, this is his 5th year? He's not in a position at the moment, I don't think, to accept anything else. He knows that this is possibly his last shot at putting a team together. He's worked hard. He's worked bloody hard for the last 4 years, and this is his shot to get something out of it. And I know it's going to be hugely difficult because the way that the draw worked out, 3 away games, the South Africans, etc. It's going to be bloody hard to do. But I still say that we've also got a European Challenge Cup. And I have to say, I'm still pinning my hopes on the European Challenge Cup to win a trophy, because I do not believe that we're going to win the URC.
It's not mathematically impossible.
Okay, have we got any other business? I have a couple of points. New, really, really high goalposts, like properly tall goalposts, which seem to be a bit wider than the normal ones, which are painted very white, but wider, which Jack had trouble with because he hit the same. I think he almost hit the same spot from his first 2 kicks. There is still. It'd be nice to take all the floodlights down along the clan stand. I think they take the floodlights down in front of the. Actually, they're not all in front of the main stand, so they take the floodlights down in front of the clan stand. It'd be nice if they took 1 or 2 of them down from in front of the big screen. There's only 1 or 2 there. There's only 1 or 2 more that would be nice to get rid of, because it would be nice. And the other thing, the last thing I'm going to say is, it'd be nice to get a clock that worked all game.
Oh my God, there's a disaster.
What a nightmare.
What's going on?
What a nightmare.
Well, I think someone possibly just forgot to check how it worked, because I did go up to Stephen and the media man and sort of suggest to him, was it possible to get the clock working? And obviously he did try to. Yeah.
It did.
But it did. Well, it worked and it stopped, and it worked and it stopped, and it worked and it stopped. So look, that's obviously something that
Yeah, it'll be there for next week. It got there for the most important bit.
Have to be sorted out. But I do know that a lot of people do rely on that clock.
Yes, a lot of us.
Commentators rely on that.
You're not even looking at that clock. You're looking at this clock.
One, which wasn't working either.
Oh, for God's sake.
They're both connected. I think
But look, here we are, back in the sports ground. New pitch, new season. I missed the hill, I have to say. I was, but...
Just so Jake White.
Does it matter when you get a result like that? And I think there's a certain sense of excitement and development about having that new pitch, which has really added to Connacht as an entity.
Yeah.
That it's not this dog track.
Yes.
Hill.
It's just not. It's not a muck pale.
No,
yes,
muddy
exactly.
pitch anymore. And I think it's certainly elevated. I believe Connacht.
Yeah.
Because
it's the best. It's the best looking plastic pitch I've seen, because it doesn't look like one.
Yeah, I agree.
Not plastic.
And one final
Artificial.
point, just like, because you're finishing on a positive, Linley, and I like that. Took the bonus point off Munster as well, because look, we're trying to catch them. So nice job, lads.
It is. And well done, the clan and the main stand made great noise tonight. It has to be said.
Absolutely, great finish.
Can I make one small thing? It's an AOB. It's just an amusing point that the best Gaelic football under 18 footballer in the country was a guy called Tomas Fording. He plays for Corinthians and he's been selected for the under-18 Club Ireland team. So Corinthians have stolen the best Gaelic footballer at under-18 level last year. Fair play to Corinthians, fair play to everybody involved. Corinthians, good luck to the 6 lads that were selected. 2 lads are in the under-19 squad as well.
Okay, to finish this podcast, we're back in Murty's.
Alan, I said to you before the game, if you remember our conversation, I was always a big fan of Conor Fitzgerald at fullback. He has the complete game. He can kick, he can defend, and obviously, demonstrably today, when needs must, he can step in and take a place kick.
We got the win. That's the important thing. There's a lot to build on, and I think that's more important for us. As I said, there was a lot out there, mistakes made, blah blah blah. The mindset is good because we needed a win just to get a bit of confidence.
If you'd said to me at the start of the season, right, after the first 4 games we'd have 4 points, I'd have said, Alan, that's 1.0 points per game. I've been at worse seasons.
What did I call the actual winning margin today, by the way? It was close enough, wasn't it? 68 points?
You certainly did. Well, I'm happy. I won my bet on Matt Hansen being the first try scorer, and I won the bet on Connacht winning the game. So
you're buying the first points out here?
There you go.
Loose, cut it loose. Break out or nothing changes. Sad and confused.